Welcome guys and gals, I'm Relentless XRG, and today I'm going to be your build doctor. And over the next several episodes, we'll be going over different tips, tricks, and guides to better your builds on all things PvE and PvP, both occupied and normalized. So if you're looking for a little bit of advice, maybe some understanding between the differences of normalized and occupied and how to get the best bang for your buck, whichever dark zone you choose to be in, then don't worry, sit back, relax, I'm here to help. And if you're new to the channel and you're enjoying the content, then be sure to ground and pound that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so that way you know each and every time a video is uploaded or a stream goes live. Just reach up there and trigger that bell. But today in our first episode, we're basically going to be looking at how to better your build for normalized and occupied and being able to know the difference and how to do that optimization of your build. Depending on your playstyle, we'll be going over several different tips and tricks so that way you can better utilize your PvP skills or the lack thereof to further fulfill your enjoyment of exactly playing in the dark zone. But without further ado, and enough of my rambling, let's hop into it. First thing you need to know when going or choosing to go to normalize or occupied. For example, this would be a great occupied dark zone chest piece. It has 14.5% weapon damage and decent and health rolls on it. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky and where normalized can be unforgiving. When it comes to stats on normalized, it drops that 14.5% down to 5%. So always keep in mind, whether you're switching back and forth, you don't mind going into either or, then no matter what stats or attributes you have on your chest piece, if you have modified it to make it stronger, then it's always going to revert back to its original state. So in this case, 14.5 gets cut down to its original state of 5. And that's on every single piece in your loadout. Even when it comes to health values. Normalized, 7,292. Occupied, 27,489. So as you can see, there is a significant difference, and you should be aware of that difference when choosing, or just more or less just trying to find action or just wanting to explore when you're going into the occupied versus the normalized. Now, the best pieces that you can possibly come across are the ones that have the attributes you are looking for, that have, or at least good values overall, such as this chest piece. 16% total armor, 9116 armor, which is not that great, but at least it has two different armor values on it, and of course the 8% weapon damage. So when it comes to pieces that you specifically want the best of when going into normalized, because that's just the dark zone that you prefer to go in is the normalized one, then you want to have pieces with the attribute stats that you want. They may not have the talents that you want on them, but at least they have the attributes, because no matter if you change the talents in and out, you won't get punished for it like you are on attribute rolls. So that is very key and very important and especially knowing the difference between the two of occupied versus the normalized. So you definitely want pieces you don't have to roll attributes, because whatever attribute that you roll onto it is going to be reverted back to its original value. So keep that in mind. Next is one thing that I have mentioned in previous videos. Everyone should keep multiple variations of knee pads in their repertoire, so to speak, because you're going to be coming and have difference of occurrences with different players that you come across in the dark zone. And also each variation will be dependent on the person's playstyle, but no matter the playstyle, depending on who you come across and how they're playing against you will determine what you might need to switch up. For instance, if you're a more of a cover-based shooter where you shoot more from cover, then you definitely want to utilize the likes of Patience. And patience is after being in cover for 5 seconds, armor repairs for 5% every second. So that way you can be inflicting more damage from cover and being able to shoot more from in cover because you're getting that 5% of your armor repaired every second. So that way you can lay out more damage while absorbing more damage. Kind of how I like to look at it is, in one way anyways, is more or less a damage mitigator. So you're more or less nullifying 5%, but usually, depending on the person's build and it being normalized, that 5% is dependent, meaning that it's dependent on your armor pool. So you take your total armor pool and you're getting 5% per second of that. So your armor pool is going to directly correlate on how big that 5% chunk actually is. And there's other things that you can use, such as weapon talents like preservation, even safeguard, things of that nature that you can help fortify and increase the strength of patience. You just gotta, know how to do it, and then, kind of more or less conform, keep playing with that build, so that way you can constantly utilize it and optimize it with your gameplay and your play style. But that is just one instance. But let's say, they're utilizing cover, the players you're going against. They're pressing you, and let's say one has a shield, defender drone, the other, maybe, hip firing and dropping his little chem piss pools at his feet, and, trying to run into them and got basically, a lot of armor regen. Then you always want to keep also a second set of knee pads with cloaked on them. When your armor is depleted, nearby enemy skills are disrupted for 10 seconds, can occur once every 30 seconds. Now, you'll see more of this in the normalized than you necessarily will the occupied, because with player stats more or less getting hurt because they do have attribute rolls that are getting reverted back to its original state, they're not exactly doing as much damage as they would if they were in the occupied. So you're probably going to get pushed on a lot more. And if you're getting pushed on by shields with defender drones, trying to use that hip fire, or they're trying to drop their little piss pools at their feet, then cloak definitely will come in handy, because once your armor is gone, it's going to disrupt them for 10 seconds. And if you're using unbreakable, even though you're only getting 25% of that in the normalized, once your armor is broken, it still is going to send out that disrupt, and bye piss pools, shields, and defender drones. So that is one thing I do recommend, whether you're in normalized or the occupied, is have different variations dependent on either situation that you come across, so that way you can better be prepared for no matter what comes your way. You always got to have options and prepare for the worst, but more importantly, always plan ahead. You may not hardly run into people that really push. You more or less run into people that like shooting from cover. But still, you never know who you're going to come across and what you're going to come across, so it's always good to be prepared for both. Now, when it comes to such things like Bloodsucker, you may not like the two-piece True Patriot, but it has a direct correlation when it comes to Bloodsucker. Because Bloodsucker is depleting an enemy's armor as a stack of 25% bonus armor for 5%, for 5 seconds, max stack is 5. So the faster, since you get 10% armor damage by the two-piece, the faster you remove armor, the faster you get your proc. Also, those that you're coming against using Unbreakable, even if you're not using Bloodsucker, let's say you're using Berserk, which is also a good one, then you want to go more heavily on your health than your armor, so that way you can increase your damage but still have tons of survivability due to your health pool. And if you're going against those that are, constantly running the Unbreakable, especially in the occupied Dark Zone, then also the two-piece 10% damage to armor is going to be your best friend. Because it doesn't matter, how big their proc is, the 70%, how much armor they have, the faster you can eat away that armor, the faster you're going to actually be able to kill them, push them backwards, make them retreat. And especially if you're using the likes of LMG or an AR, because the AR has the 29% baked in damage to health, so once their armor is gone, you can just eat through their health. You need to keep these things in mind. So you need to have different variations according to your playstyle so that way you are prepared for no matter what you come across. If you're not used to PvP, the only way to get better at PvP and to more or less protect yourself, defend your stuff that you've worked hard for at those landmarks, is to better yourself at PvP to protect yourself. And the only way to do that is actually to PvP. I know you may not necessarily like it or want to PvP, but that's the world, that's video games. You may not want to do something, but sometimes people put you in a position to where you have to and need to in order to defend yourself, not to attack others or to use it maliciously, but you're just utilizing it and getting better at those skills for defensive purposes. And also those can also help you with PvE situations as well. But I don't want to drag on this video too long because, like I said, it is a multiple part series. But that is one definite difference that you want to know when it comes to Occupy versus Normalize, is the stats, no matter what piece it is, reverting back to its original. But anyways, guys, next episode we'll be going over some PvP tips and tricks and what to utilize and what to do. We've touched on them briefly, but we're going to go more in-depthly, and then we're going to incorporate some skills and also some weapon talents on the next episode. So if you're looking for some specific answers to your questions, then drop those questions or comments in the comment section below, and then if it gets enough thumbs up, or if it don't, if it's something significant that you should know, then I will be touching over it and touching on it on the next episode. So that way I am here to help each and everyone, regardless whether you're a sub or just a viewer. If I can help anyone out in the community, then by all means, that's what I'm here for. But thank you guys so much for all the love and support. We'll see you punching later.